We are going to have a conversation between the two of us on many of the challenges that you are facing. And we did do a poll, and the number one challenge is technology. Behind it is the challenges associated with homeschooling and social isolation, and wee ways down the line is sibling rivalry and conflict. So we were talking about devices and how to get our kids off the devices and setting limits and holding the limits and dealing with the pushback. So Sharon, why don't you share what your kind of go-tos are in helping parents manage this gargantuan problem that we are all finding ourselves in the thick of it with?
Of course, I do think that, of course, there's the ultimate irony that we're talking about technology, that people are struggling with technology, and the thing that we're having a hard time with tonight is
Yeah,
technology.
absolutely. It is ironic.
Oh my goodness. So welcome to everybody who's watching, and we're going to be talking tonight about technology, homeschooling, and social isolation, all of the challenges that you parents are facing with this COVID shelter in place. But I think we're also going to spend a little bit of time about addressing issues of transitioning from the confinement back into a more open society, particularly for teens. This is a big challenge for teenagers. So what I wanted to talk about is how to set up an agreement around technology for the summer. So your kids can't be on technology 24/7. And a lot of parents, because things have been so difficult, have let their kids have more screens than they know they should have, right?
Mhm.
So that was an exception. And now we have to undo the exception. And whenever we're undoing something, we expect as parents that we're going to get pushback, and we're going to get a lot of pushback and intense pushback. I was talking to someone today who was telling me that their 9-year-old was saying the F word and the B word and slamming doors because they were trying to implement these limits on screens, and he didn't like that. And she wasn't sure, should I give in? Should I continue with the limit? And of course, Louise and I are 100% on the continue with the limit.
Yeah.
One of the challenges that we have as parents is tolerating our children's unhappiness and disappointment. And so what kids learn is that if I continue to whine, if I continue to make your life miserable, you will give me what I want, because I will shut up. And that's not a life lesson we really want our kids to learn, is it, Louise?
No, absolutely not. But it's very, very hard to not give in when they're whining and behaving in ways that we get to the point where we've had enough. But the problem is when we give in, we actually feel so bad about the fact that we've given in because we know we shouldn't have given in, but we have. So then we feel like the guilty mom, the failure mom, the loser mom who can't control her children. So, that feeling after we've given in is actually almost worse than the feeling we feel during the pushback. And I think it's a reminder to us to stick to that limit, hold the limit with firmness, with kindness, with compassion, embody your kids' behavior, their experience. And I was just saying, if they're on Fortnite and the timer's gone and you're reminding them to get off and they're like, no, 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 ask them, where are you in the game? If they're saying, I'm nearly finished, Mom, and I'm going to win this game and I only need 5 minutes, then maybe that's where you become a bit more flexible and say, you know what, I get it. That would be tough. Play your 5 minutes, leave and come back in 5 minutes. Don't get sidetracked by your work or the laundry or cooking dinner and then come back half an hour later, because guess what? They'll be in another game of Fortnite and that game won't finish for another 15 minutes. And so it goes on and on and on. But
Exactly. Exactly. And so you froze for a minute, but you're coming back. So I'm going to keep going until you come back unfrozen. You might want to refresh over where you are. So one of the things that I want to say is that what happens is that we often don't, there you are, we often don't, we give kids too many things, and we're angry with them because they don't appreciate the privileges they have. So what I want to encourage you to do is that you link things they have to do or you want them to do to those privileges, right? Screens are not an entitlement. To me, kids are entitled to food, clothing, shelter, love, education, safety. Screens are not one of those things. But in the quarantine, people have been around their children so much. They've been stuck inside. They feel bad for their kids, so they keep giving them screens, and then they can't disentangle them because of the dopamine that Louise was talking about. Playing games on screen is a high dopamine activity. Your brain's firing away pleasure and reward, and it's going. But we can't live in that zone all the time, because you come out and you're very depleted. You have what I used to call the TV cranks. It's now the computer cranks. We have to have a balance between high dopamine activities and lower dopamine activities. That's how we live our lives, right? Just
And
like
the
you want
kids
to have.
can't understand that. They can't
No,
understand it. They won't understand it. They won't reason with it. It's not logical to them, but we know this. So if we want to meet their needs, we have to protect them from being overstimulated and over dopamine.
it's exactly right. It's like we wouldn't let them have cake for 3 meals a day.
No, or give them alcohol or weed.
Exactly, exactly. So what we want to do is decide as parents, like, what is the maximum amount of screen time? And let's say it's 3 hours. Okay. Then you sit down with them and you say, how much screen time do you think you should have a day? And they'll be like, I don't know, 6 hours. And they'll say, yeah, no, I'm thinking like 2. 2 hours. Oh my God. No, can I have more? I'm like, okay, well, what's your proposal? 5. I'm like, okay, I'll come to 2.5. You play a little bit of a game, and then you get to 3, which is where you want to be. Or maybe if you really feel bad for them, you could go to 3.5. But you set a number.
Mm-hmm.
Then you decide 1 hour of that is their gimme. They get that every day, regardless of their
It's
behavior.
unconditional. It's
It's
unconditional.
unconditional,
Yeah.
and they get that. Except if they're going to porn sites, except if they're bullying, except if they're posting inappropriate pictures, because they're showing you that they're not able to use technology correctly. Okay. The other 2 hours, the bonus time, is earned. It's earned by their cooperative behavior, doing those have-tos.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would suggest is that you link things to screen time. Oh, okay, if you can make it through the whole day without dropping the F-bomb in my face, you can have 30 more minutes of screen time. 1 F-bomb, you don't earn the screen time. If you if you help me fold the laundry, do the laundry and then fold it, you participate in your chores, you can earn another half hour of screen time. And it doesn't all have to be the same. Like maybe it's 2.5 hours on their computer and another half hour watching a family movie. You can play with that. Here's the thing with this easy on, easy off. If kids don't get off according to the cooperative plan you come up with, then they don't earn bonus time either later in the day or the next day. Okay. And easy off means you can't scream from the other side of the house or the apartment, hey, it's time to get off. You have to set a timer for 15 minutes, because particularly with these multiplayer games, kids need warning, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are other players who are depending on them. So we give them a 15-minute warning, and then we come back with a 2-minute warning. And that's the time where you can say, okay, I can't get off, I'm almost done. How much do you have left? I have 3 minutes. Okay, I'll be back in 3 minutes. And that's a time when you ease off. You also want to give them some tricks about how to get off. Maybe put their hand to their chest and say, I'm now closing my computer game, and I'm transitioning to the dining room where I'm going to have lunch. I'm now turning off my computer. I'm leaving one activity. I'm going to another. I mean, this sounds super corny, and your kids are going to say, no way. But we have to help them transition. A lot of time kids don't want to get off the computer because there's nothing on the other side that's appealing to them.
Mm-hmm.
So set up what's appealing on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
The final thing I just want to say is, if you have never read Magic 123 by Thomas Phelan, I highly recommend it, and it helps parents with warnings and counting. I was counting till my kids were 13 years old. I'm like, okay, it's time for you to get off the computer. No, I'm like, that's a 1. That's a 2. Okay, I'm getting off. I'm like, okay, 3. You have earned your TV show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's
Sorry for my big talking. Go ahead.
yeah, and I love the easy on, easy off. I recommend it, and I always share your name when I do that. I said Sharon Saline has an amazing easy on, easy off, and try it. It works. And the other thing that I often say to parents as well is because they kind of say, well, if you do the dishwasher, then
Oh, Louise, we lost you. Can you reboot, please?
with
There you
them.
are. You're back. Okay, say it again. If you do the
If
dishwasher.
you do the dishwasher, then you can have your screens. Then it's the child actually has a choice. If you do it, you're saying to them, if you do it, you'll get it. But if you don't, you're not going to get it. So they could choose not to do the dishwasher, and actually you want them to do the dishwasher. So if you change the word if to when and
That's
say,
right.
when you've done the dishwasher, then you get the screen. When you walk the dog, then you can watch Netflix. When you've whatever, then so when then rather than if then. It's a much more powerful word, and there's no conditions. There's no choice. It's when you've done it, you'll get it, not if.
And you can do that with homework too, which is something that people said in the poll is a problem. When you do this, you can have this. And I think that's really important. It's beautiful the way you said that. When then, I love it. It's
Frozen
great.
again.
Right. Or you're frozen again, but
The
you'll
bandwidth
unfreeze.
is really, really being challenged at this time,
The
isn't it?
internet is
Maybe I
really
froze
tough
on
at
your
this
screen,
time
but you
of
froze
day.
on
Yeah.
mine.
There you are, you're back.
Yeah.
So we're talking a little bit about homework and school, and I know for many parents and kids, school's almost over, fingers crossed, and they really want a break. A lot of kids are suffering from Zoom fatigue. What are you advising parents whose kids say, no, no more screen for school, let me just play my game?
No more screen. Yeah. I mean, it really does depend on the child, the temperament, what's going on, the parent, their temperament. Is the child strong-willed or is the child unmotivated? Because the way in which you will approach it will really depend. Each situation is unique to itself. And what I will say, and it's generalizing with teenagers, is that teenagers want to be in control of themselves badly, big time. So when we overstep the control mark with them, they push us away. So I always suggest to parents that they find a way to control but not control, to know what's going on without asking. Find the most subtle way of asking them, have you done your math? Rather than saying, I've been on your school thingy and I've seen you've not handed in your assignment, shows you're micromanaging, you're all over them. They don't want you to do this. So I would recommend you would go in and maybe say, hey, how's your math going? I think you said you had an assignment last week. How's it going? Versus, have you done it? How much have you done? Let me see it. Because they just pull back. They don't like it. And so it's finding a way in that doesn't make them feel like we're micromanaging them, controlling them, all over them, because they want to take charge themselves. And if we do too much, it renders them incapable. And if we do too little, they feel like they might need help. So it's finding that balance between how much help do we give, how much supervision, management do we give, and we need to have enough so we're not neglecting them or the situation, but they need to know we're there. And if they need help, they can ask us. But be there, but not be there. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's
It does. I like the open-ended questions. I also think it really helps with teenagers to have specific check-in points rather than, random, how are you doing with your math? Or, when did you turn this in? But to just like to meet maybe twice a week for 15 minutes and say, let's have an update on how we're doing with school or, with your college applications or your job applications. You have a little powwow, so to speak. I hope that's not offensive to anybody. You have a little meeting and then you move on, right? You move on so that they don't feel like you're nagging them all the time.
And also in that meeting, you could also say, if you need any help scheduling things or chunking things or working out when you can do it, I'm here, totally happy to help. You might get the calendar out. You might facilitate the process for them to organize their week a bit or the next couple of days. so they can see where their windows are. I mean, now at home there's plenty of windows, but as things open up in the summer, they might have things they have to do with more pleasurable activities now, but they still have to get those in. So when are they going to get them in? We collaborate with them and support them in it as they need.
Mm-hmm. This segues nicely into this idea about what are we going to do this summer. And I think particularly for kids who have ADHD or on the spectrum or learning disabilities, they need structure to their days, and they need a routine. Even teenagers need a routine. Pick a time that is a reasonable wake-up time. And how are you going to chunk your day? It's almost like if you were a camp counselor. You wake up, you eat breakfast, you have activity period 1, then maybe you have like lunch, then activity period 2, maybe rest time. Figure out with your kids what kind of day makes sense. And maybe not every day is the same, but you have some kind of routine. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we do this. Tuesday, Thursday, we do that. I think that helps them feel like they have something that grounds them in their days, rather than just floating around all day and then wanting to be on screens because there's nothing else for them to do.
Yeah. I mean, even saying to them in the morning if they're having breakfast, hey, what are your plans for today? And this all depends. If you've got a 13-year-old versus a 17-year-old, your conversation will be different.
Mm-hmm.
But still, what are your plans for the day? So roughly what their plans are. But if they don't have plans, it can help them and encourage and motivate them to have some plan and a structure, because the day is more purposeful if we kind of have something to look forward to, maybe, or to entertain us or do or participate in, for sure.
Absolutely. And you could actually create a list,
Mhm.
rainy day options, sunny day options, I hate everything options,
Yeah,
what to do on those days. So you don't have to kind of keep reinventing the wheel all
yeah.
the time.
And ask
And
them to make the list as well. Get them,
well,
hey,
that's what I mean. You make the list together with them. You can't
yeah,
make it for them,
yeah,
particularly teenagers. You can't make it for them.
yeah.
They have to be part of it or there's no buy-in. And I would encourage you to to think outside of the box with your kids. Have them do something they can make with their hands,
Mhm.
right? You know,
Cooking.
cooking,
Yeah.
planting a vegetable or herb garden, learning how to change a tire on a bicycle, puzzle, and painting maybe painting a piece of furniture, painting, working on the outside of the house. Engage your kids so they can use other parts of themselves. It's
Mhm.
also important for kids to get outside,
Mhm.
and if they want to see their friends, this goes back to that isolation piece. We want to encourage them to socialize safely. So with teens in particular, you've got to be super specific about what that is. Take out a tape measure, show them what 6 feet looks like. Make sure they have a mask if they drive, in their car, in their backpack. Talk about the risks. I was just reading the paper today. COVID deaths are up, they're rising. And so we really have to encourage our teens to be safe. And when kids are nervous, I mean, a lot of kids are very nervous about getting sick, and so we can work with that concern and their desire for autonomy and independence together. When you go out with a mask, when you follow the safety protocol, you have hand sanitizer, I trust you more to be more independent.
Absolutely. And to know that we have to remind them. My kids say, Mom, we get it. I'm like, I'm sorry. Every time you go out, I will have to remind you. You just have to hear it. And they go, okay. But then I feel I've done my bit to remind them, because if it's not forefront in their mind, it needs to be. And
Yes.
so at least if we remind them, it might help, you know, them be more safe and comply with whatever that your local protocols are with regard to uh, social distancing.
So we want to leave you with a few tips. I'll start by talking about electronics. Focus on easy on, easy off. If you don't know what I mean exactly by that, or you want more information, please check out my website, www.drsharonsaline.com, or purchase my book, What Your ADHD Child Wishes You Knew, Working Together to Empower Kids for Success in School and Life. This easy on, easy off method actually works, and I want to encourage you to try linking those have-tos to the want-tos. Louise, your tips?
My tip is, my biggest tip for parents is, it really is more about how you show up in the face of whatever the behavior is your child is exhibiting. Because if we show up wild, uncontrolled, untamable beasts, then we're not role modeling the very behavior we want them to be able to adopt. You know, we want them to be able to self-regulate and control themselves. So really, the more we can control ourselves in the face of their frustration, in the face of their sadness, in the face of their madness. Because when we get triggered by their reactivity, it goes nowhere. It goes downhill fast. So, you know, self-control is one of Sharon's C's, and I am a big, big fan of it. It's my favorite C of all because I think everything stems from it. So work out what it is you can do to find your pause, to just take that moment, take a breath, so you don't say it in the heat of the moment. So you take just whatever it is you need, know what it is you need, so that you can walk away for a second, take a breath, and just tame your reactivity in the moment so you can hold on to the control you have of yourself. Because when you lose it, it goes nowhere.
I agree. And we both want to ask you to remember to be compassionate with your kids. They've lost so much. And this is as hard as this is for adults, it's 20 million times harder for kids. They don't have the capacity cognitively or emotionally to think into the future. It's particularly for kids who have ADHD, it's a now, not now brain, and the now is intolerable. They can't even think about the future. They just want the now to be fun. So I want to encourage you to take out your empathy, dig deep. You may feel drained, but there's more in store. So we really want you to be compassionate and be compassionate with yourself. Do some things that fill up your own bucket.
Absolutely.
Louise, anything else you want to
Yeah,
add?
and collaboration is key with teams. And when we come at them, trying to control them with our agenda, our wants, our needs, they're like, hang on a minute. Whereas if we go in open and curious and compassionate, and we invite them to the conversation and get so hear them, see them, understand them, get their point of view before we give them ours. We can steer them towards what we want them to be steered towards, but make them feel like it's their decision, and hear them, give them a voice, let them have their say, and support them and celebrate their wins, because you know they are remarkable individuals, and they're unique spirits, and they challenge us at times, but don't forget to celebrate the wins, because there are wins there, and encourage them, give them the courage they need to handle this and anything else that might come their way.
So those 5 C's that I write about in my book, self-control, compassion, collaboration, consistency, and celebration, equal connection.
Yeah.
So go ahead, take a plunge, and good luck. And we hope to come back sometime more effectively with our own technology so that we can answer your specific questions.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Till next time, bye for now.
Thank you so much for listening. Bye.